My wife, Emma, had always been my rock. We had been married for 8 years, and while our relationship wasn't perfect, we always found our way back to each other. At least, that's what I believed, until the night everything changed. 2 weeks ago, Emma had been rushed to the hospital after collapsing at work. The doctors diagnosed her with a severe infection, and she had to stay under medical supervision. I visited her every day, making sure she had everything she needed. She looked weak, but assured me she was getting better. Yet, something felt off. Emma, who usually couldn't go more than a few hours without texting me, had suddenly become distant. She would barely hold conversations when I visited, and her phone was always locked away in the hospital drawer. At first, I thought it was just the exhaustion from being sick, but my gut kept nagging at me. Then, something strange happened. One evening, as I was leaving the hospital, I saw a man standing in the parking lot, staring at me. He was tall, well-dressed, and holding a phone in his hand. Our eyes met for a brief moment before he turned and walked away. I shrugged it off, thinking he was just another visitor. But the next day, I saw him again, this time, leaving Emma's hospital room. I rushed inside, my heart pounding.
"Who was that?"
I asked. Emma looked startled, but she quickly masked it. "Just a doctor," she said too quickly, avoiding my gaze. Something wasn't right. Emma was finally discharged after 2 long weeks, and I was relieved to have her home. I tried to brush aside my suspicions, telling myself I was just being paranoid. That night, I cooked her favorite meal, hoping to bring back a sense of normalcy. She barely touched her food, saying she wasn't hungry. Later, as she went to bed early, I saw her phone light up on the nightstand. The name on the screen made my blood run cold. It was an unknown number, but the message read, "I'm sorry. I miss you already." I stared at the message for what felt like forever, my mind racing with questions. Who was this person? And why were they saying they missed her? I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but I needed answers. So I did something I never thought I would do. I waited until Emma was asleep, then carefully took her phone and stepped into the bathroom. My hands shook as I entered her passcode, one she hadn't changed in years. And what I found shattered me. A string of messages hidden under a different contact name told me everything I needed to know. "I wish I could be with you right now. It was hard seeing him today. Just 2 more weeks and we'll figure it out." I felt like I had been punched in the gut. Emma had been seeing someone else. And the worst part? It wasn't just some random affair. Whoever this man was, he had been visiting her in the hospital while I was sitting by her bedside, believing she needed me. I put the phone back before my shaking hands dropped it. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I couldn't sleep that night. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out my next move. Then the phone rang. At first, I thought it was an alarm. But when I turned over, I saw Emma's phone vibrating on the nightstand. The call was from the same unknown number. And before I could even react, Emma sat up, grabbed the phone, and rushed out of the room to answer it. I followed her, and when I heard what she said, my entire world fell apart. I stood frozen in the hallway, straining to hear every word. Emma's voice was hushed, but in the eerie silence of our home, her words felt deafening. "Hey, I can't talk right now." "He's still awake." My breath caught in my throat. "Yes, I'm home now. I missed you too," she whispered. I clenched my fists, feeling the heat rise to my face. My heart pounded like a war drum, and my stomach twisted in knots. "No, don't worry. He has no idea. We'll figure something out soon." That was it. That was all I needed to hear. I took a step forward, no longer caring if she heard me. The floor creaked beneath my weight, and Emma spun around, phone still in hand, her face draining of color. "Who are you talking to?" My voice was low, steady. Too steady for the rage boiling inside me. She fumbled to lock her phone and shoved it behind her back, as if that would make a difference. It's no one," she stammered. I exhaled sharply, shaking my head. "No one," I repeated. "You were just telling no one that I have no idea about something? That you missed them?" Her mouth opened and closed like she wanted to come up with a lie, but nothing came. She was caught. Who is he, Emma? My voice was sharper now. I was done playing games. Tears welled up in her eyes, but I wasn't falling for it. Not this time. It's not what you think, she said weakly. Then tell me what it is, I shot back. A long, painful silence stretched between us. Finally, she sighed, shoulders slumping. His name is Ryan. Ryan. The man I had seen in the hospital parking lot. The man who had been leaving her room. The man she had been whispering to, hiding messages from. I clenched my fists so hard my nails dug into my palms. How long? Emma's gaze dropped to the floor. 6 months, she whispered. My knees nearly buckled. 6 months. Half a year. While I had been loving her, supporting her, trusting her, she had been sneaking around with someone else. I stepped back, my world crashing down around me. And you let me sit there in the hospital, taking care of you, while he was... My voice cracked. I couldn't even finish the sentence. Emma wiped at her eyes, but it was all an act. I could see it now. She wasn't crying because she was sorry. She was crying because she was caught. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself, but the next words out of her mouth set me off all over again. I need time to think. I let out a bitter laugh. You need time to think, I repeated, shaking my head in disbelief. You had 6 months to think while you were sneaking around. I'm done. Emma's eyes widened in panic. Wait. But I didn't let her finish. I turned on my heel and walked away, heading straight for our bedroom. She followed me, desperate now. Please, just let me explain. I spun around so fast she nearly ran into me. Explain what? I snapped. That you lied to my face for half a year? That you let me sit by your hospital bed, worrying about you, while your side guy was sneaking in when I wasn't there? That you were planning something behind my back? She swallowed hard. I didn't mean for it to happen. They never do, I muttered, turning away from her. I grabbed a suitcase from our closet and yanked it open. If she wanted time to think, she could do it without me here. Emma gasped. Wait, what are you doing? What does it look like? I tossed clothes into the suitcase, my movements quick and controlled. I'm not staying here. I'm not staying with you. She grabbed my arm, but I yanked it away. Please, she begged. I still love you. I whirled on her, my chest heaving. You don't get to say that to me. Tears streamed down her face now, but I didn't care. Not anymore. She had broken us, and nothing could fix it. Emma stood there, her face streaked with tears, watching as I packed my bag. But I had no sympathy left for her. She had made her choice, and now she had to live with it. Please, she whispered. Don't leave like this. I let out a sharp breath and zipped up the suitcase. Like what, Emma? Like a man who just found out his wife has been cheating on him for 6 months? Like a fool who sat by her hospital bed, thinking she needed me, while she was texting another man? I turned to face her, my jaw tight. There's no good way to leave this. It's already ruined. She reached for me again, but I stepped back. Where will you go? She asked, her voice trembling. I shrugged. Anywhere but here. A long silence stretched between us. She was panicking now, realizing that I was serious. That I wasn't just angry, I was done. Then, just when I thought she might finally accept the consequences of her actions, she said something that almost made me laugh in disbelief. It was a mistake. I froze, then slowly turned to look at her. A mistake. I repeated, my voice dangerously calm. She nodded quickly, as if saying it enough times would make it true. I wasn't thinking. It didn't mean anything. It just happened. I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. You mean to tell me that for 6 months, you just kept making the same mistake over and over again? That every text, every call, every lie you told me was all just some meaningless accident? She swallowed, knowing how ridiculous she sounded. But she doubled down. It wasn't serious. I swear. I scoffed, shaking my head. You told him you missed him. You told him we'd figure something out soon. Sounds pretty serious to me. Emma opened her mouth, but nothing came out. She had no excuse left. No more lies to spin. I grabbed my suitcase and walked past her, heading for the door. But just as I reached for the handle, my phone rang. I glanced down. It was an unknown number. Something in my gut told me to answer. I hesitated for a second before pressing the button and putting the phone to my ear. "Hello." A man's voice came through the line, one I didn't recognize, but it was calm, too calm. "Hey, is this Emma's husband?" I stiffened, my grip tightening on the phone. "Who is this?" The man chuckled. "You don't know me, but we need to talk." I turned slowly, locking eyes with Emma. Her face went pale. She knew exactly who was on the other end of the line. And from the way she suddenly looked like she was going to be sick, I knew whatever was coming next was going to destroy everything. I kept my eyes locked on Emma as I slowly lifted the phone back to my ear. My heart pounded, but I forced myself to stay calm. "All right," I said. "I'm listening." The man on the other end, Ryan, I assumed, sighed. "Look, I don't want any trouble, but I think you deserve the truth. Emma didn't tell you everything." I shot her a sharp look, and she visibly flinched. "I figure that much," I said coldly. "So, why don't you enlighten me?" Ryan hesitated. Then he said the words that turned my rage into something else entirely. "She told me you two were separated." I blinked. "What?" "Yeah," he continued. "She said the marriage was over, but that you were still living together for financial reasons. She said you had an understanding and that you were both seeing other people. I only found out she was lying after I saw you at the hospital, when she panicked and told me to leave." I gritted my teeth, my free hand curling into a fist. "And you just believed her?" He sighed. "I should have asked more questions. But I ended things with her as soon as I found out she was lying. I haven't spoken to her since she got discharged. That call tonight? That was her calling me." I didn't answer, but I thought you should know the truth. I looked at Emma, who was now shaking, her hands pressed over her mouth. "Are you still there?" Ryan asked. "Yeah," I muttered. "I'm here. I'm sorry, man. I really am. I didn't know." I took a slow breath, trying to process it all. This wasn't just a betrayal. This was deliberate deception. Emma hadn't just lied to me. She had lied to everyone. She had manipulated the situation to get what she wanted. And in the end, she had lost everything. I exhaled and nodded to myself. "Thanks for telling me." "No problem," Ryan said. "Good luck." I ended the call and put my phone in my pocket. Then, I turned to Emma, who was now crying silently. "You lied to him, too?" I asked. She let out a broken sob. "I didn't mean to." I held up a hand. "Stop." She hiccuped, looking at me with desperate eyes. "Please, just..." I said stop. My voice was calm, steady, and final. "I'm done, Emma. There's nothing left to say. I'm leaving, and I'm not coming back." She crumbled, falling to her knees. "Please don't do this," she begged. "We can fix this." I shook my head. "You already broke it." I turned without another word, grabbed my suitcase, and walked out the door. For the first time in weeks, I felt free. The weeks that followed were hard. Divorce papers were filed, and Emma sent endless texts apologizing, begging for another chance. I ignored them all. I focused on myself. I reconnected with old friends, threw myself into work, and hit the gym more than ever. Slowly but surely, I started feeling like me again. Then one day, I was at a coffee shop, minding my business, when a woman accidentally bumped into me. "Sorry," she said with a laugh, brushing her hair behind her ear. I looked at her and felt something strange, a sense of lightness. "It's okay," I said, smiling. And for the first time in a long time, I realized something. Emma's betrayal didn't break me. It set me free.